you in your different time zones around the world and across the country. It's Thursday. It's 8 p.m. on the East Coast, 5 p.m. on the West Coast. It's Friday morning at 1 a.m. in London and 9 a.m. in Tokyo, Japan. They're having ham and eggs right now as we speak. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the club once again. It's the club called Talk Back Live. It's a show that we broadcast each week, and we're here every Thursday around this time for a whole full hour. We engage you in conversation and have a lot of little chit-chat. We have sports coming up not too far away in the show with Brian Kemp, direct from Charlotte, North Carolina, as he calls in with the latest developments in today's world of sports. We're going to give you our updates and clue you in on the great movies, Turner Classic Movies, classic stuff that you like. We have a couple of them that we want to show you or talk to you about. And of course, we're going to talk to you about what's happening in this whole world. Back in the old days, as we call it, right? What's happening then? And that's another feature that we have on this show, and that's on this day in history. So all of that is coming up, and it's you and I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. So I want to wait for all of you people who are coming in. Thank you so much. I want to say hello to everybody watching us on Facebook and on YouTube, because each week we simulcast this program. So you get the best of both worlds. If you don't catch us up on Facebook, you could always go on YouTube, and you can always subscribe to my YouTube channel. And of course, you'll never miss a show once you do that. So thank you so much for being along with us. And well, you know something, here in New York, we dropped on another heat wave. Another heat wave happened here in New York. And we've got one more day. Tomorrow, they say it's going to be another day. And for those of you who are living in the New York area, please be aware of that and act accordingly. Stay out of the sun as much as possible. It's a warning. So, you know, we want you to make sure that you're all healthy and everything is okay. Okay, so while we're at it, let's give that hand clap, that hearty hand clap, as we do each week. Of course, we do that each week. That is for you, of course, because you're so loyal and checking us out each week and staying with us. So we thank you for that. That hand clap goes out to also all of the people who've been with us since the pandemic began, the doctors, the nurses, and all other hospital personnel that's been along with us, along with the first responders like the police officers and the firefighters, people like working in the mom and pop stores, all the grocery stores, supermarkets that refuse to not even give in to this pandemic. They want to serve the people, and that's exactly what they did. And we're going to need you guys more than ever before, because as you already know, we're into another wave right now. This is what they call the Delta variant. And of course, another one is expected to come along the way. Hospitals are getting crowded with patients. And you remember how it was the last time. The first time it started, there were so many patients in the hospital that they had to have patients lie in their beds out in the hallways until they can get a room. That's how crowded it was. And it's getting that way now in certain places, you know. So, but then there are other places better than other places, because, you know, people are wearing their mask, they're using their hand sanitizer, and they're just taking precautions. And speaking of all of that, we advise you to get on that fence and make sure that you use your hand sanitizer, use your mask, wear it, because you know you have to wear it in certain places anyway. For instance, if you're flying, you're going to have to use the mask. Remember that the airports are strict on this one. There's no question about it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. They're going to want you to wear the mask, and you can't take it off in flight and right through the airport. Also, if you're taking mass transit, if you have mass transit, that's heavy mass transit in your area, like we do here in New York, we're big on mass transit here. You're going to have to wear your mask on the buses and the subways and taxi cabs, Uber cars, all of that. You know, they're going to need you to do all of that, because we want to get this down as quick as possible. And another way of fighting this thing, the best way to do, is get vaccinated. So if you're still on the fence about it, think about that twice. Think about how many people passed away and their last words were, I'm sorry I didn't get that vaccination. And it was too late. We don't want that to happen to anyone. The children, we're waiting for the children under 12 years old for this CDC to approve it, for them to get vaccinated as well. The kids are going back to school in a couple of weeks. And Of course, mask mandates are in place in a lot of schools and a lot of cities. And, it's something that you just have to do. And we're forced to do this because a lot of people just don't want to do it. And while the mandates are going on, you have people protesting in the streets, wherever they are. And big protest. And they're not giving up, and we don't want you to give up either. If you have friends that are on the fence still about this vaccination and they refuse to get it, please, try to do your best to coach them to do that. Now, some people are going to stick to their guns. And I understand that. They're going to stick to their guns no matter what you say, what you do, they're not going to do it. But if you possibly can, just try to push it a little bit. We push it each week on this show. We do that. So please keep that in mind. And if you have places that you can go to get vaccinated, of course, go there. It could be your primary doctor. He may have a supply of the vaccines that's available, which right now are 3. You have the Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, and, of course, Pfizer. Now, the Johnson & Johnson, as you know, is a one-shot deal. The Moderna and the Pfizer is 2 shots. And now they're talking about booster shots. They're available now. They were available last week on the 20th. Well, actually, they're going to be available. I believe it's going to be available on the 20th of next month, which is right around the corner, September. The 20th of September, your booster shots are available. So those of you, please, do that. Whatever it takes, do it. And that's your 3rd shot. But we're trying to get the people. That's more concerned about the people who hasn't even taken the 1st shot. And we just want you to do that. And, that's all we ask you to do. Okay, we're here. And of course, it's 7 minutes past the hour right now on this Thursday. We thank you so much for being along with us. I see more people are there. So I just want to wave to you guys and say hello. And of course, if you're under the sound of my voice over there, we have information for you. Let's say, for instance, if you would like to get in touch with me personally, I am no stranger to you. I will be able to respond to you, but I have to hear from you. And up there, if you're watching us on Facebook, you see up here, I think it's over here, something. However you're watching this show, all the information is right there. You have my email address and my telephone number, of course, and you can get in touch with me if you want to make any comments, suggestions about the show, or even just to say hello. I'm available to you. All you have to do is just use that information. It's right up there. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you look in the chat area at the very top. It's always at the very top. The address, my email address and telephone number, always right there. And if you call there, leave a message, and someone will get back to you as well. So there you go. And that kind of does it for that. So we want to thank you so much for being along with us. And we'll if you want to talk anything else about any other subject, all you have to do is just type in. I will see you right there on that big screen. I will read it off, and I will acknowledge you, and we will entertain your questions, your ideas, or just general conversation. That's what we're here for, to entertain you. And so we're going to do that. In the news, of course, I guess I usually say another chain, another link in the chain has been broken in the entertainment industry. You probably heard it by now. It just happened. Don Everly, one half of the Everly brothers, that the legendary Everly brothers, and they're the earliest, most influential group of harmony, the 2 of them, the Everly brothers. Don Everly passed away last Saturday. Last Saturday, he passed away in Nashville, Tennessee. That's his home, at the age of 84. His younger brother, by the way, Phil Everly, passed away 7 years earlier at the age of 74. So we lost both of the brothers, but they did leave a legacy of great music for us to enjoy. And you can always go to your oldie stations, your favorite oldie station, and no matter where you go, you'll hear the Everly brothers. So we wanted to send our condolences out to all of the people in entertainment, disc jockey who play their music, all of the people who work with them, the producers, and everybody who worked with the Everly brothers over the years. We want to send out our condolences to their friends, of course, and their families too. So that's it. Also, Rolling Stones drummer. Here's another one. This just happened just the other day. Rolling Stones drummer Charlie Watts. He passed away peacefully in his in a hospital in London at the age of 80 years old. They say so much great things about Charlie. You know, he was the drummer of the Rolling Stones, and they said that he was really the man of the Rolling Stones, and it wasn't so much Mick Jagger or Keith Richards, but you know, of course, they're the front men there, but very few. You got very few comments about Charlie Watts. But anyway, he passed away at the age of 80, so we want to send our condolences out there as well to all of his family, his friends, to all of the members of the Rolling Stones, including Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, and of course all the people who worked with him over the years. And so there you go. Anyway, let's see. We've got, excuse me for a second, we've got a lot of talking to do. Later on, did I mention later on in the program that we are going to give you information about the great music, the TV shows, or the movies that you like, the classic movies? We're going to tell you more about that. I may add, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to watch the channel a little more. There's a channel called Movies, and there's a lot of classic. They play a lot of classic black and whites, and I just started watching it this week. I'm pretty sure it was on there a long time, but I just started watching this week. So what I might do is, maybe not tonight, but later or sometime, throw in the mix of some of the classic movies. They're classic movies, but Turner Classic Movies, they give you more. But this other channel, Movies, they also have classic movies. And I was watching some today and last night and a couple of days ago. So I may add them into the mix when we do that each week. We'll also, as I said, give you what's happening in the world of history on this day in history. We got a lot to talk about right then. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, don't forget to get your vaccinations. They're easy to get. Okay, now there are a lot of jobs, by the way. If you're a city worker, like here in New York City, they're saying that city workers must, at least if they're not going to get vaccinated, they must each week get tested. Each week, get tested, and you have to have proof of that test each week. Now, that's something that nobody wants to do. I sure wouldn't want to, get shoved up the nose every week. But this is what they're asking because they have to protect people. And that's why there's a lot of protests all across the country for the same thing. But this is what they're saying. And some of the restaurants that you may visit, some of the bars, they're seeking proof, your passport, your proof of vaccination. That's what you have to show now in some places. I passed by a couple of merchants just the other day, and they have it right out the door. They have the sign right out the door in conjunction of wearing the mask. They want you to come in if you're going to dine inside or you're going to drink inside. You're going to have to show your passport. That's your proof of vaccinations. And of course, you already know that is because everyone that got vaccinated got one of those cards. Now, a lot of people don't want to carry their cards around. So all my suggestion was, and I suggested this many times before, is that if you don't want to carry the card, and I understand why you don't want to carry the card, because the card is not even wallet size. It's a little bit bigger than your wallet. And where are you going to carry that, right? So my suggestion is to you is to make a copy of it. Make a copy of it. Keep that copy in your wallet, fold it and keep it in your wallet. Or you can also take a shot of the card and kind of crop it to a nice size and keep it in your phone book. That's like a document. Create a document, in your phone, a document section in your phone. Sometimes, because in my phone, I have my birth certificate, I have my passport for my vaccine and a couple of other items that I keep in there because you don't want to carry those things around. You may have had, let's say, for instance, your birth certificate for many years, and it's so old, it's so brittle now, and you don't want to carry that around. So the best thing to do is take a picture of it And even if, let's say, for instance, if someone says, well, I want a copy of your birth certificate, or I want a copy of your passport, all you have to do is just write from your phone. Just email it to them. You can do it directly from your phone. So there's another that will save you time and a lot of heartache and a lot of wondering why I should have to carry this card all around when the card is not even wallet size. You know, so there you go. You have it, and those are my suggestions to you. And I hope everything is okay. I hope that works for you. I really hope it does. Brian Cat will be here in just a few. He's got sports update. He'll be here in just a couple of. He's due any minute now, and we're going to open up the phones to him. And as you already know, he comes out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and we're going to be talking to him then. And so there you go. So I say, I see more people coming in. So I want to say hi to all of you guys over there on Facebook. More people are coming in. So hello to you guys. Thank you so much for being along with us. We're live, of course. And thank you, YouTube. This is our second week back on Facebook since, we, as you already know, and those of you who followed us know that we were out for 30 days. And we just returned back to normal just last week. And so this is our second week back in, and I'm happy about it. I'm happy that we are all safe and back together once again. So thank you, Facebook. Thank you, YouTube, for doing that and making us part of your action. Thank all of you, too, for making us part of your action. More people. Okay, there you go. Hi, you guys. If you want to say something, please say, you could just say hello. You don't have to make a big conversation. But those of you who want to involve yourself in conversation, of course, it's the place to do it. We can do it right here. If you want to talk more about, have any questions about the vaccine or tests or anything like that, we'll be glad to help you out with that. Better yet, if you look up in the area, or you're watching us on Facebook, you look up in the area, you'll see it with all the information there. You see that I have that number there for you. It's called the COVID-19. That's a COVID-19, it's a hotline. So it's like the COVID-19 test. And that number is 718-638-7682. Again, that's 718-638-7682. And you call that number, any kind of information you want to know. You have questions. They'll be glad to answer all of your questions. And God knows there's a lot of questions because each passing day, things get a little more difficult. And we try to make sure that we do the right thing and get back to where we were as far as, getting back to normal. And everybody wants to get back to normal. I hear a lot of people talk about it all the time. I want to get back to normal. And this is the way we're going to have to do it, ladies and gentlemen. So, and you got to realize too, it's going to be time. We have a long way to go because, believe it or not, only 50% of the country is vaccinated. That's not a lot of people, ladies and gentlemen. Not a lot of people at all. That's a small amount. Just halfway down the line. You got 50 over here, you 50 over here, and it's a big battle. And a lot of people are saying they don't want to get vaccinated because of the fact that they feel like, that the government is demanding that they do it. No, it's not a government thing, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a political thing. It has nothing to do with politics. It's just good common sense. And we want everybody to be healthy. And we want to lessen all of the people who are coming into the hospitals. We want to get that down. And again, to do that, continue to wear your mask. And if need be, you want to still practice that 6 feet distance. Remember in the supermarkets, they did that. They're not doing it now, but who knows? It may have to come to that point once again. And we don't want that. So let's keep that in mind. Okay, while we wait for Brian, what we're going to do, if I see the phone rings, and I'll probably stop on. What I wanted to do is maybe should we do that history thing? No, because if I start that means he'll phone in. It's always, it has to be something important that he's not here just yet, but he'll get here. He usually does. He always, you can depend on him. and he'll be here just in case. Okay, but I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what we'll do. We will give you that information on Turner Classic Movies. You like Turner Classic Movies, right? If he phones in before I finish it, then we'll start it all over again. We'll do it all over again. But one of the movies that goes back to 1954, starring Marlon Brando. And I'll repeat this for the people who are coming in late. Marlon Brando, back in 1954, did a movie called, well, wait a minute, there he is. I think that's him now. So, yeah, that's going to save us a little time. Yeah, he's here now. So let's get started right now. Brian, with the latest developments in today's world of sports. Brian.
Good evening, everybody. Sorry for the delay. Had to occupy doing something very important, but I'm here. It's 82 degrees here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Beautiful evening out here, and let's get right to the sports. In the NFL, Buffalo Bills wide receiver Isaiah McKenzie and Cole Beasley were fined for violation of the NFL's COVID-19. McKenzie tweeted out a picture of a letter he was sent by the NFL detailing multiple documents violations of protocol and got to pay a fine of $14,650. Now Cole Beasley, if you remember him, he was the one that was refused to take the vaccination, and he has his own issues that where he doesn't want to take it, and that's where he stands. He says he did not disclose how much he was being fined, only to say that he was disciplined for not wearing a mask. So what does that tell you? That tells you that he's not taking the vaccination. He doesn't want to wear a mask, and at least got to give it to him. At least he's honest. So that's where we stand with him, and he's just going to have to just see what's going to happen to him later on. Will he be with the team? Will he make the cut, or what? We just do not know. So in other sports, in Major League Baseball, Arizona Diamondback left-hander Caleb has been suspended for 10 games and fined for an undisclosed amount for having a foreign substance on his glove during a game last week. Now, Caleb Smith's suspension is the second, not the first. This is the second time this season he's been caught with a foreign substance, as Major League Baseball cracks down on pitchers using sticky substance to get a better grip on the ball. That's illegal. He knows it, and he got caught a second time. There was an article not an article, but a question in a sports tabloid about what Major League Baseball would change about their sport, and one of the questions is either the pace or the length of the games in baseball is a problem. So out of the 20 plays that they asked, 9 says yes and 11 says no. They don't have a problem with the length of the game. 3 hours is good enough. Another question was asked, are analytics applied the right way? 7 people say yes, 13 people say no. Players just want things to be explained to them, and that's basically what they care about right now. And there's one of the questions here is, does the game need fixing? 4 players says yes, and 16 says no. And if you were the commissioner for a day, what would you do? That was the question of the day for on the sports agenda. In the NBA, Milwaukee Bucks superstar Giannis Antetokounmpo was purchased a stake in the Milwaukee Brewers. The Major League Baseball team announced last Friday, that is. Giannis is following the model of Kansas City Chiefs superstar quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Small market star investing in the local baseball franchise with the Kansas City Royals, and he's doing that with the Royals as well. Giannis isn't the only noticeable Wisconsin athlete with an investment in another state's pro franchise. Aaron Rodgers has a minority ownership stake with the Milwaukee Bucks. So it seems like a lot of people's having a stake. Now, when they say a stake, that means they They got their 1%, 2% investment of ownership. So that's what they are doing. College football, the NCAA, LSU will require anyone attending Tiger Stadium with where the LSU Tigers play at, who is 12 years of age or older, to provide proof of vaccination or a negative test taken within the last 72 hours. Also, the ACC and Big Ten and Pac-12 alliance became with a three conference coming together on a collaborative approach surrounding the future evolution of college athletics and scheduling. So this day, August 26, 1903, the Phillies walked 17 Dodgers in the game. That game was a long, drawn-out game. That was in 1903, but 17 Phillies and walked 17 Dodgers. 1930, Hack Wilson hits his 44th home run, breaking Chuck Klein's National League record. And let's see, and in 1938, first Major League Baseball telecast on W2XBS, Cincinnati Reds defeated the Brooklyn Dodgers at Ebbets Field in Brooklyn. That was the first telecast. 1947, Dan Bankhead, Major League Baseball first African-American pitcher, homers in his first Major League at bat in a 16-3 loss to the Pirates at Ebbets Field. In 1955, the first color telecast on NBC of a tennis match. In 1971, the Baltimore Orioles' Don Beasley struck out 5 times in a game. 1985, Baltimore Orioles' Eddie Murray knocks in 9 RBIs in the game versus the California Angels. Anybody that's out there don't know what RBI means. That's a run batter that means you German home with a sacrifice fly or a walk or a base hit or a single, double, triple, or home run. That's called a run batted in. So whenever you see the word RBI, that means run batted in. 2016, San Francisco 49ers Colin Kaepernick kneeled in protest during the U.S. national anthem at San Diego Stadium. That's where the Chargers play at, while objecting to racial injustice and police brutality. 2020, the Milwaukee Bucks forfeit the NBA playoff game after the shooting of Jacob Blake, leading the NBA postponing more games. And in birthdays, today is happy birthday to James Harden, NBA superstar for the Brooklyn Nets, who was born in Los Angeles, California. And that is sports.
Right. Boy, a lot of sports are coming on. We don't want to lose the momentum of sports, man, because as we already said, this pandemic is back full force, the Delta variant, and I need you to keep bringing that sports in, and we need more sports. Football players are getting set for their outings for the season. You got the basketball season coming up, and we want to keep those sports coming along. And the only way we can do is just keep getting vaccinated, and maybe some of the players could take tip.
But you know what? Now that the college football season and the pro football season is coming on the way, I truly believe a lot of players are going to get fined. They're going to get caught. They're going to get, missing games and everything. It's just going to be something that's going to be looked at very closely. Maybe forfeit of games and everything. So we will have to see. We will have to see what's going to happen.
The players who don't want to get vaccinated, and you mentioned a few of them, they don't want to get vaccinated. Those are the same people that have the opportunity and the power to set the example for people who love to see them play wherever they go. It sets the example. And again, if they don't do it and someone else follows them, and then the next thing you know, we have to close up shop again, not only for sports, but for other things that everybody like to do. But I think the players, they have the power to set the example to people who love sports and love to see them play. And it's just unfortunate a lot of them don't want to do it. And don't even want to give the reason why they won't do it, which is, of course, their privilege.
Well, it just seems like it's more of these football players than Major League Baseball players and NBA players. It's just more of these football players. I just don't understand it. I mean, here it is. You have a situation that these athletes are willing to put a lot of stuff in their system, from steroids and all this other stuff, illegal substance into their body, but they don't want to take a shot.
That's a good point.
A vaccination shot.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Hey, listen, that's a good point, and I think I hope someone heard that and passed that along. That's a good one. Well, Brian, that's going to be it. Listen, next week, as you already know, we're coming to Charlotte, North Carolina, and we're going to do the show live from where you are.
The Queen City, yes, the Queen City of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah. And you are going to, if you don't mind, you're going to co-host with me instead of, I mean, you'll still do the sports and everything, but you'll co-host with me. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Okay. So we'll be there in Charlotte for Talkback Live and, of course, the coffee hour as well. So we'll tell the people more about that as we go along. Okay. I guess we'll see you then. We'll see you tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. That's Brian Kemp, ladies and gentlemen, with the latest developments in today's world of sports update. He comes here every week at this time, and he brings us the latest developments in today's world of sports. Sports is so, essential to a lot of people. I mean, what would you do without sports? If you're a sports, can you imagine you're a sports person, you love sports, and what if this pandemic was like really worse than what it really is now? I mean, God knows it's worse now, but imagine, and they have to shut down everything once again. And we thought about that. What is a guy like me, a guy like Brian, and the rest of you who like sports, what do? Twiddle your thumbs, you're waiting for sports, there's nothing on. So that's why we got to keep sports alive, and to do that, we have to keep ourselves alive by following the protocol of everything to keep things safe. Your children who are going back to school in a couple of weeks. But yeah, so Brian will be here tomorrow too on the coffee hour with the latest developments in today's world of sports. DJ Pete, how are you? DJ Pete is out here. He's peeking in. You see, DJ Pete is going to be here tomorrow along on the 2020 features. Brian does it 20 after, and DJ Pete comes in 20 to the hour with entertainment news, and of course he'll recite all of those birthdays that comes along. Nice to see you, Pete. He's out there. Pete is out there in Portland, Maine. I talked to Pete earlier during the day today, and we were talking about the weather. The weather that he has there. We have the same thing here. We were like under fire, literally under fire. You're sitting in the sun, and that sun is beating right on your back. That's what we had here. We were like well into our 90s. I think he was like well into his 80s. But hey, Pete, keep your fingers crossed, because you never know. It might let up tomorrow. We have one more day here in New York. We have one more day of this heat wave, and then it's going to cool off for the weekend. However, the weekend is going to have a little rain, and I don't know. What's the weekend? We had a bad weekend last weekend. I mean, we had torrential downpours all over the place. Rain was coming down in buckets, and everybody's in the house, and nobody's outside, and we couldn't go anywhere. That's how bad it was because of the hurricane, part of the hurricane that swept our way. I called it last week. I called it Hurricane Henry, but it's pronounced Ari, Hurricane Ari. So history. Hurricane Ari is history now. This is still hurricane season, and there may be more on the way. So, we batten down the hatches and set ourselves accordingly. If you're just tuning in, the name of the show is called Talkback Live. My name is Frank Allan, and we are here every week, every Thursday between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern. And, of course, we are here talking to you, and you can be part of the conversation, whatever the conversation is. The air conditioners are running full blast to keep up with the heat. that's out there in Portland, Maine. Full blast. They're full blast here, not necessarily in here, but they're running full blast all over the place. But ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind when you're running those air conditioners, if you're in an area like where Pete is or where I am, and it's real hot and it's a real deep heat wave, kind of keep the temperature down a little bit. Try to conserve that energy. You want to avoid blackouts and brownouts, from wherever you are. Okay, so there you go. That's it. Again, we're live here, and we thank you so much for being along with us here on Talkback Live. Okay, what do we have here? Oh, we're going to talk about on this day in history. On this day in history. All right, how about that? 1938, British leaders and Arabians fight in Pakistan. On this day in history, 1942, 7,000 Jews are rounded up in the Vichy, France, over there. 1942, Soviet counter offensive begins in Moscow, or Moscow, however you want to pronounce it. I say Moscow. I read it as I see it. Some people say Moscow, but it's spelled Moscow, but it depends on where you're from. 1951, the film An American in Paris, with music by George Gershwin, directed by Vincent Minnelli, and starred Gene Kelly and Leslie Caron. And that premiered in London and won the Academy Award Best Picture in 1952. In 1956, KREY-TV, Channel 10, and Montrose, Colorado. It's a CBS and NBC station begins broadcasting. On this day in history, in 1964, Italian Communist Party selects Luigi Longo as chairman. On this day in history, in 1964, that was a good year. 1964 was a good year. I was growing up in that year. LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson, nominated at the Democratic Convention in Atlantic City. On this day in history, 1968. Now this was another great era too. 1968, Hey Jude by the Beatles. They released in the USA. It won the Billboard Song of the Year, the Billboard 10 biggest song of all time. On this day in history, in 1981, Voyager 2 takes photos of Saturn's moon, Titan. In 1996, U.S. President Bill Clinton signs welfare reform into law, presenting a major shift in welfare policy. In 1996, that series, mini-series, Seventh Heaven. I used to love to watch that show. Seventh Heaven, starring Jessica Biel, debuted on WB. On this day in history, 2018, Pope Francis asked for forgiveness in speech on child abuse in Dublin during the first official visit to Ireland since 1979. Mother Teresa was born on this day in 1926. On this day, August 26, 1910. And she passed away September 5th, 1997, at the age of 87 from cardiac arrest. Journalist Ben Bradley was born on this day in 1921 in Boston, Massachusetts. He passed away October 21st, 2014, at the age of 93. Remember Congresswoman Geraldine Ferraro? Well, she was born on this day in 1935 here in New York. Well, not here in New York City, but in Newborough, New York. Of course, in New York State. And she passed away March 26, 2011 at the age of 75. Singer, songwriter, and actress Thela, born on this day in 1971 in Mexico City, Mexico. She's 49 today. I watched her grow. Here's another person I watched grow. Macaulay Culkin. Did I pronounce his name right? Macaulay Culkin. Macaulay Culkin, right there. I got it. I get it eventually. Macaulay Culkin, actor Macaulay Culkin, was born on this day in 1980 here in New York City. He's 40 years old today. Remember that cute little kid? Now he's 40 years old. 1946, the late legendary actress Olivia de Havilland, wed screenwriter and novelist Marcus Goodrich. In 1965, Mobster and FBI informant Henry Hill, who was depicted in that movie Goodfellas, he married Karen Feldman in North Carolina. In 1927, architect Frank Lloyd Wright, not Frank Lloyd Allan, that's Frank Lloyd Wright, discovers architect. Well, he was divorced, by the way. He was divorced. He was architect, and he was divorced. He divorced his artist. She was an artist, Maud Knoll, after 4 years of marriage. In 1964, American actress Jane Mansfield got married to Hungarian-American bodybuilder Mickey Hagen. That's Mickey Hagen, yeah, in Mexico. It's a Mexican divorce. And let's see. And finally, playwright Neil Simon, all right? Marvelous playwright. Neil Simon passed away on this day in 2018 at the age of 91. He was born July 4th, 1927. And that's it for this day in history. And if you have anything that you want to discuss in this day in history that we didn't cover here, by all means, let us know. We'll get it on there for you. We'll talk about it because history is important. Okay. Again, you're tuned to Talk Back Live. My name is Frank Allan. It's 17 or 18 minutes to the hour right now. We got 18 minutes for the show before it ends. And it's Talk Back Live. We're here every Thursday. Now, if you're here every Thursday, you already know the routine. We're here. And of course, if you're here for the first time, make a note of it. Every Thursday between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern. And if it's your first time, don't make it your last time. Make it your weekly habit. And for those of you who are watching us on Facebook, you already know the score. If you're watching us on YouTube, please, by all means, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And this way you'll never miss a show, because every time we broadcast on the air, it'll pop up on your email that we're on the air, and you don't have to miss us. So there you go. And so again, I want to wave to all of you people who are watching us on Facebook, all of you people on YouTube. Thank you so much for being along with us. We're still working on our podcast, Blue Cafe. I didn't talk about it for a couple of weeks already, but we're still working on a few things. We're on hiatus right now, and pretty shortly we'll have more to talk about and more guests. But in the meantime, you could always go there. If you look up in the information area, let's say if you're watching us on YouTube, go up into the chat area way at the top, and you'll see it at the very bottom. It's called Blue Cafe, and it has a direct link there. And if you're watching us on Facebook, look up, look here, look down here, look over there, wherever it is, wherever the information is for you. Down at the bottom, you'll see it's the information, the link directly to the Blue Cafe website. And you can listen to some of the 3 interviews that we have on there already. We did one with Bobby Rydell, we did one with Jimmy Clampton, and Bobby Wilson. Of course, Bobby Wilson, is the son of Jackie Wilson. That was my idol back then. So you can take time, if you haven't seen those or heard those interviews, you take time and watch it. They're all hour apiece. They're our interviews, and we talk about them and the history of what they did to get started in their craft. And it's a whole lot of things. We got more coming up. So it's on hiatus right now. But in the meantime, just go there and listen to those shows. It's all there. Okay, it's 16 minutes to the hour right now. And Talk Back Live, that's where we are. That's where we are. Now, again, we'll go back to what we were saying before. If you notice, every week around this time, of course, we give you information, and those of you who like those classic movies, we got a bunch of them on Turner Classic Movies. And before we were getting ready to start, just before Brian came on, we were getting ready to start to roll with one to fill in until he got here, but we didn't have to do that. So we'll get started right now. So this weekend on Turner Classic Movies, here's a good one. It's a good one that I like so much. It's called The Wild One, back in 1954 with Marlon Brando. It comes on Turner Classic Movie. It's on Saturday at 1:30 p.m. So enjoy your Saturday afternoon, have some cold drinks, and chips and whatever it is, and sit back, relax, and enjoy that classic. It's Wild One, 1954, Marlon Brando. Remember the Dirty Dozen? Dirty Dozen, 1967. That comes on Turner Classic Movie 2. It comes on Saturday as well at 5:15 p.m. So you have great movies coming along in the afternoon. And then here's another classic. It's Casablanca with Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman. 1942 film, and it's on Turner Classic Movie, but this one is on Sunday. And spend your evening with Bogey at 6 p.m. Eastern on Turner Classic Movie. So there you have all those three movies. Those are my three picks right there. But I'm pretty sure if you go on the Turner Classic Movie channel and you look through the banner, look through the schedule, and there are probably more movies that you'll like, that you remember that you'll like. We didn't mention them here, but I just have these as my personal picks for the weekend. You can check that out. Now, if you're also a subscriber to cable, you can also go to online. You can go to On Demand, cable on demand, right? Movie on demand. So when you go to Movie on Demand, there are so many things. You have all of the networks there, all the different channels that provide all of these movies. Even Turner Classic Movies there, and they have a long line of list of great movies. You can check it out. If you like sports, turn to some of the sports channels. If you missed an event, it's right there for you. All you have to do is just look it up, and I think. But all of those movies are there. You can be entertained all weekend. Now, if you're in an area where this weekend the weather is going to be really inclement, and it's a good time to sit back, relax, and catch up on all the movies. So there you go. Again, those movies on Turner Classic Movies. You have The Wild One with Marlon Brando, TCM, Saturday, 1:30 p.m. Dirty Dozen on Saturday at 5:15 p.m. And on Sunday, you can catch Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman on Casablanca, and that's Sunday at 6 p.m. and it's all Eastern time. So thank you so much. And there you go. I was watching. Also, I mentioned earlier that Turner, even though Turner Classic Movie, there's another channel that I've just started to tune in. I'm pretty sure it was there all the while, but I just never actually sat down and watched it. It's called Movies. That's another channel called Movies, and they play some classic movies. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add to the mix. Maybe not this week, or obviously not this week, but add to the mix of some of the movies that they may have on that channel, and add it to, and then you'll have more movies. Hopefully they don't, they correspond with each other, or they don't kind of overlap each other, so you can get a chance to see all of the movies. Because all of the movies that I tell you about on Turner Classic Movies, all of them that I give you each week, they never overlap, so you can watch all of the ones that I mentioned. Last weekend, of course, you had the Katharine Hepburn marathon, 24-hour marathon, so not necessarily mini marathon, 24-hour marathon, which included most of the big classics by Katharine Hepburn. So there's so many more, and each week we do that. And I was watching on that channel, the movie channel. I'm just going through. You'd be surprised when you're surfing, and you're going through, and you stop at the channel, and it just so happens when I surfed and found movies, the movie channel. Guess what was on there when I was just as I turned it on? It was a James Cagney movie. Now here's a movie that I think you're gonna like. This James Cagney movie is called Public Enemy. Remember that? That was on there. I love that movie. If by the way you don't know that movie too well, there's one sequence that I know you know all about when James Cagney put the grapefruit in his girlfriend's face and shoved it in her face. It was on. But I love those James Cagney movies. They got a lot of James Cagney movies that go even way back to the 40s. I mean, even back to the 30s. Now, James Cagney, as you already know, he was an actor. When he started, he didn't set out to be an actor. A lot of you people may not know that. He didn't set out to be an actor. He had bills to pay like everybody else, and all he wanted to do was work, even if it meant, I guess, working in the shipyard or whatever kind of work. He just wanted to work. But it just seems that James Cagney was blessed with these looks. and he was blessed with these looks that the studio liked, and he had that voice that the studio liked. And that's what, because a lot of people, you just don't get into show business just like that. You have to have a certain thing. And James Cagney had it. But when James Cagney started, I'm talking Brian's language here. James Cagney is classic, yeah. Uh, but a lot of people got to remember that James Cagney wasn't always the gangster. As a matter of fact, before he was a gangster, he was a song and dance man. And of course, he was in Yankee Doodle Dandy. And of course, there was a movie. I don't know the name of the movie. DJ Pete, if you're out there, maybe you know this for a fact. It was a sequence that he did with Bob Hope. They were both dancing on the table. That was from a movie, but I just don't know the name of the movie. I only saw the clip, which tells me that there's a lot of James Cagney movies I don't even know about. So I would have to go down the line and look at it and see, what is it really all about? What is it really all about? Those Cagney movies, and I'm pretty sure a lot of those Cagney movies that he did, the song and dance kind of things that he did, there were probably a lot of them out there that I don't even know about it. And does anybody remember, Brian, you got to remember it. Anybody remember what James Cagney last movie was? Does anybody remember? I'll give you a chance. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding. This is Jeopardy. While whoever comes up with that, then if you're out there, whoever comes up there, I want to say hi to all you guys. What was James Cagney's last movie before he died? What was his last movie? I'm going to look up while you're pondering on that. While you're pondering on that, I am going to look up James Cagney. I'm going to type this in. James Cagney. James Cagney. Okay, I got James Cagney right here. Now, James Cagney was born 1889, and he was born here in New York, right? He was born on the Lower East Side of New York, probably in my area where I live now. Maybe even lower than that. And he died. He died March 30th, 1996. Now, if I recall, March 30th, I may be mistaken about that. It doesn't look like it, March 30th. But wasn't that on an Easter Sunday? I think that was on an Easter Sunday, because I remember it very well. When he died, the Ten Commandments was on that day. I remember the Ten Commandments was on, and the breaking news came on in between the commercial time. And I believe that was Easter Sunday, because the only time they show the Ten Commandments is on Easter Sunday. So I believe it was Easter Sunday. Anyway, his wife's name was Frances Willard Vernon. And they were together since 1922 to his death in 1986. So they've been around there all those years. James Cagney. Now, James Cagney had a sister, too, that was like semi in show business. She was, I think his sister, Jean Cagney. Let me look her up. Jean Cagney. I remember her from the 50s. Because Jean Cagney, okay, I found it. Jean Cagney, she was born March 25th, 1919, born here in New York City too. And she passed away December 7th, 1984, so that was just a couple of years before, James passed away. And she died in Newport Beach, California. And of course, her brother was James Cagney. She had another brother called William and Edward Cagney. And Harry. I didn't know and she was I guess she was the only girl, because it was James, William, Edward, and Harry. And I never knew that James Cagney had any brothers. I knew he had a sister. Now, his sister, Jean Cagney, used to be on this show. Now, if you're younger, if you're somewhere in your 50s, you probably wouldn't even remember this. But if you're somewhere around 70, 80 years old, you have to remember there was a show called Queen for a Day with Jack Bailey. It was a a show. It was kind of a game show. I guess you can call it a game show. And it's one of those shows where they have contestants. All contestants are women. So would you like to be queen for a day? And each woman has to come up with some kind of touching story to make her the queen. So let's say, for instance, her child needs a ventilator. He can't breathe. He's suffering from asthma, severe asthma, and he can't breathe. So what they do is that they take those contestants. I think it was a contestants of 4 of them, and after they tell their stories and towards the end of the show, he repeats, why they need what they need, and it's up to the audience to decide. And whoever gets the heavier hand clap wins queen for a day and get their wishes granted. Anyway, she was on there. Jean Cagney was on that show, and she was kind of like she wasn't the host, but she was kind of like a one of those kind of people that will introduce, this prize is this. So and so will win this fur coat, or that kind of a thing, So, and James Cagney, everybody remember when James Cagney used to do this? That there's a story behind that, right? There's a story behind that. He got that movement from a pimp. That was on, I believe it was on, I think it's somewhere on 80 some odd street and Broadway. And that pimp used to hang out there, and he used to always do this. So that's where James Cagney got that. When he did his shoulder, Hunch's shoulder, he got it from that pimp in New York City. Fascinating story. Anyway, and I think James Cagney was a fascinating man too. And all of the parts that he played, I couldn't imagine, and I'm pretty sure other actors tried out for his parts, but I couldn't imagine that anybody would fulfill those parts right. They just picked the perfect man for every part that he did. Brian, I knew he got it. Is Ragtime. That was his last movie, Ragtime, with James Cagney. That was his last movie. And that was a great movie. Don't see it too much, as much. You don't see it that much. Okay, and The Seven Little Foys, 1955. That's another one that DJ Pete just talked about. 1955. That was the name. Oh, okay, that was Seven Little Foys, 1955. That's the one with Bob Hope and James Cagney dancing on the table together. That was a good sequence, though. I love that. I must look up the maybe it's on YouTube. The full movie's on YouTube. I have to check it out. But I'm gonna have to see that full movie. I've never seen that movie. All I've seen was that sequence when they were doing the dancing on the table. So thank you, DJ Pete, for that one. Seven Little Foys, 1955. And DJ Pete said he worked with his grandson. He worked with James Cagney's was it James Cagney's grandson or Bob Hope? I think it was James Cagney. James Cagney's grandson. He worked with him. DJ Pete worked with a lot of people. I wonder if you got to meet James Cagney, though. That would have been a great thing. I would have loved to have met James Cagney. Of course, if I had met James Cagney, I would stay a distance from him. That look. He had that look. He was great. And then, you had all of those people that came up in that area, like Humphrey Bogart, George Raft. You can't beat these guys. And all of those guys, they've been around for so many years. And that's what makes the classic movies. I can talk more and more about this stuff, and hopefully I will, maybe next week's show. That's going to do it for me. I want to remind you that next week we're going to be here. But we're going to come to you from Charlotte, North Carolina. We're going to be broadcasting from Charlotte, North Carolina. Brian Camp is going to be with me in conjunction with his presenting the sports. He's going to co-host the show with me also on the coffee hour as well. So we look forward to that. We'll also do the same thing on the coffee hour too. So there you go. So join us back here next week. And the time is 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Facebook Live and YouTube all together. We're going to broadcast it together. And we hope that you join us. So please be with us. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a wonderful morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And we'll see you tomorrow morning on the Coffee Hour. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.